What do I actually do all day, every day as a full-time copywriter and freelance writer? What am I doing with my content writing? How do I spend my time? What does my schedule look like? And how has my schedule kind of differed from when I started to running my six-figure business now? Hi, Marie, welcome. Yeah, we know it's all about Tritos. We definitely know the live stream is about Tritos. We are actually going to have a special guest with us today on the live stream. For the very first time, we're going to have a special guest, so we'll see about that in a little bit. But let's get started on what I actually do. So let's talk about number one. The number one thing is, how is my business different? How is my business different from when I started to what I do today? So let's talk about kind of, they go together. So copywriting, if you're kind of figuring out what's the difference between copywriting, content marketing writing, or just content writing, copywriting is just sales driven stuff. So that would be email campaigns or sales pages or landing pages or anything that is any type of content that is designed to actually convert people to do something, whether that is sign up with their email, buy something, get to a call, or some kind of thing that's driving someone to do something specific. So they're kind of similar in how I approach that work. It just usually is that copywriting stuff takes longer because you're creating this message that's driving someone to a point. Content writing can be more informational stuff like blog posts or articles. You're gathering up your sources, or you're doing interviews or gathering research, and you're compiling that into something. Same thing with case studies or white papers. You have research, you have interviews, high flower power, and you're putting all those things together. So they're different, and I feel like for me, when I do copywriting, it takes longer because crafting that message takes a while, because it's usually kind of driving someone through different places. It's kind of like this up and down effect where you're like, hey, we're getting to a button, or like, hey, here's this thing. Especially with like emails, like a drip campaign, or if we're doing a sales page. Yeah, we're having a special guest. Hi, Annie. So the special guest isn't here quite yet, but I'll bring the special guest in a hot second. So when we're going over these things as a copywriter, or as a content writer, or content marketing writer, or even a content strategist, brand messaging strategist, or messaging and positioning, when I started freelance writing, I did everything wrong. You might know that by now. I got on all the platforms. I messed everything up. I didn't get it. Like, I was trying to just treat it like a full-time job. Like, just apply to all these listings. And no, that's not what you want to do. So the way when I really got started, when I actually figured it out, every single day I would do marketing. Number one thing, you have to send those LOIs and pitches. If you want to write for magazines, pitches. If you want to write for businesses, LOIs, letters of introduction. Hi, Marie. I am, when I started, when I figured it out, right? When I figured out I needed to get the marketing done, using a number didn't really work well for me. So like, if I knew I needed to send 50 to 75 LOIs a month, then, and I hit like 49, or I hit like 67 and I didn't get the right number. Oh, our special guest is here. Then I would feel demotivated. I felt like I couldn't get anything done, and I felt like I needed a time goal. So I would spend an hour every single day doing my marketing, and that helped me get it done. Hold on. All right. Do you want to be a special guest? Okay. I'm gonna let our special guest chill for a second. So I started with marketing every single day to make sure it got done. So I would spend an hour. That would be the first thing I did every single day to get it done. That then, why are you back there? Where? You might have guessed who our special guest is. Come here. What are you doing? All right, let's just do our special guest. Come here, special guest. Come here, special guest. Oops. Hold on. Come here. All right, we have a special guest. Here she is. Her name is Guppy. Hi, Guppy. Guppy wanted to say hello. So Guppy is our foster puppy, and we just got her. So we are not quite ready for another dog after you guys know that Bo passed away a little while ago, but we have Guppy. So hi, TSP. So Guppy's here. She is, I think, 1.5 years old. She is a Dachshund Lab Pit Mix. She's about 33 pounds. She's available for adoption. We are going to take her to an adoption event this week, but she's our special guest today on the live stream. She's a super good girl. Yes, good girl. All right, good job. So she'll be here hanging out with us on the live stream. Oh, she's muddy and dirty. It's been raining a lot here, so yeah, her name's Guppy. We didn't name her, but we're fostering her. She's very curious. She's very playful. She wants to snuggle with Charlotte, and as you guys know, Charlotte does not like to snuggle with anybody. So let's see if we can get her over here. Guppy, come here, Gup. Come here, Gup. Good girl. Why don't you come hang out? Show everybody how long you are. So Guppy's a 24-incher. She's about 24 inches long. She definitely looks like a dachshund mix. She's very curious. Hi, Getty. Yep. We have Guppy. She's eating something. Where you go? Why don't you come hang out over here with all your stuff? Hold on. Let's see if I can show you guys how long she is. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right, we'll do a Guppy thing later because now she just sat down and she's asking for pets. So she's super sweet. She is available for adoption. And she loves other dogs. So if you have another dog, she definitely wants a playmate. She definitely likes to party. And she likes to explore, which she's doing right now. She actually hasn't been in this room because there's too many cables and wires and like little things. And we just want to make sure that we can see her and see what she's doing all the time. So Guppy's available for adoption. She is totally sweet. She's driving Charlotte a little bit nuts because you guys know Charlotte is like our old mare. She's about to turn 11. Oh, don't eat that. Hey, don't eat that. So she's driving Charlotte a little bit nuts because she's a puppy, you know. She's still got that puppy energy. She wants to be spicy. She wants to be all over the place. So now you guys can see how long she is. So she definitely looks like a dachshund baby. She likes all her toys. She's got her sloth, her partial chicken. She's got her bow stick over there. Guppy does write excellent copy. She does. What do you think? All right, let's get back to our live stream here while she's goofing around. Come here, Goof. Come here, Goof. Okay, let's talk about our schedule. So the second thing is after we do our marketing every day, right? We want to make sure we do our marketing 1 hour a day. And then you get to work. So after you get your marketing done, then you actually have to do your client work, right? So we get our client work done, and that could take, I don't know, a few hours. So you do some marketing, you do some client work, you have lunch, right? Yeah? Are you sleeping? You tired? You're funny. And then I usually, if I have to do more client work, so for me, I'm usually organizing things by deadlines. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm working backwards from my deadlines and managing all my work in there. So don't eat that. So when I'm getting to my client work part, my client work can take 2 hours. My client work can take, like it could take 8 hours. It could take multiple days. But I'm working backwards from my deadline to make sure that I'm organizing everything. By the end of the day, I'm really tired. So I end up doing admin work. One of the mistakes that I made when I was first starting out was like I would check my email all the time. Like I would spend so much time checking email every few minutes or 30 minutes or hour. And I would, hold on. Ugh. Here you go. You want to chew on this? Maybe instead of my toes. So I would check my email too much. So one of the phase kind of changes that I made was I would only check my email a couple times a day. So I would check my email, usually in the morning. Like the first thing I would do when I got up is check my email, clean anything out of my inbox or answer stuff. Then I would check it around lunchtime, and then I would check it at the end of the day. So when I first started, I was basically just doing email checks all the time. It took a ton of my energy. It was it's kind of like that quick dopamine hit kind of situation. So what ended up happening was I would just get sucked into my inbox instead of doing my client work, which was not good. So make sure that you're kind of setting up a schedule to check your inbox. Make sure you're not checking your inbox. Don't eat that all the time. Here, don't eat that. What are you doing under there? Why don't you eat this? This tastes good. No? Okay. You got some hair in your mouth? Oh, gross. So then we're kind of doing admin stuff at the end of the day, which is like checking on invoices or following up on stuff if we need to, or um, she's just like all over the place. She's just smelling all the stuff. So we're doing invoices, we're checking things, we're following up on stuff, we're looking at how things are going in our business. Like Dubsado gives you all the metrics in there. And then you're also, don't go back there. She's so curious. Come here, curious Doug. Why don't you just hang out with all your stuff? You got all this stuff over here. Come here. Why don't you just hang out over here? There you go. There you go. Good job. Good girl. Good girl. So now we have kind of settled. Maybe not. She's too active. Too active. Don't eat that. Yep. Come here. This is one of those live streams where, like, yeah, I do want to swap. If the old girl, if my salty sea dragon wants to come up, don't eat that. Yeah, she's just trying to, I do want to swap. So, just so you guys know, Guppy's our foster puppy. She's super cute. She's a very good girl. She's very curious. That's all she's doing in this room. She wants to know what's in this room because she hasn't really been in here, so she's trying to smell everything and figure out what stuff is. She likes a lot of squeaky toys. She likes to chew on little sticks and stuff, and she likes to party. Yeah? She's super cute and super sweet. All right, we're going to do a quick swap. Hold on. All right, Gup. You had your special guest appearance. Now we're going to swap. Come here, Minnie. Come on, old Minnie. Do you want to take her toys with you? Take her stuff. All right, Charles. Good girl. All right, here you go. Sorry. There you go. All right. We got our salty sea dog back. Hey, good girl. Hey, good girl. You can see how tired Charlotte is. You can see that she's like up here because she knows she's going to get snacks on the live stream. But she also, she's like, that foster puppy has a lot of energy for my 11-year-old body. Here you go. Good girl. You want to give everybody high fives since we're here? Since we got everybody up here? Yeah, can we do high fives or are we feeling a little rickety? Oh, good girl. Good job. All right, why don't you lay down? We'll get some peace and quiet. Okay, so let's get back to our stuff. So make sure that you have a schedule for email. Make sure that you're putting things together so that you don't get distracted from doing your actual client work. Make sure that if you have to do admin stuff, that you do that at the end of the day. If you want to follow up on LOIs or pitches or anything that you need to follow up on, you can do that at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. Just follow up. I haven't found a big difference between the time that you follow up. I just don't, it doesn't matter. But make sure that you're scheduling it so that your best work gets done on the time frame that makes the most sense for your brain. So when I first started out, my best time frame was the morning. So for me, when I was starting out, I did my best client work in the morning. It just helped me get things done. And then kind of the early afternoon, after like 11 years of doing this, now I just kind of do the work whenever it needs to get done. So like after doing it so many times and having to do work at different times of the day, whether that was morning or late at night or in the middle of the day or whatever, after having to do that for years, now I just do my work basically when I need to get it done. The other thing too, when you're starting out, or at least when you're kind of organizing your schedule as a copywriter or organizing your schedule as a freelance writer, freelance content marketing writer, is that you want to make sure that if you don't have any clients or if you know that your work is kind of dwindling and you need to get more clients, you do more marketing, right? So this is a question I get often is like, what do I do now that I did my 1 hour of marketing? And I'm like, well, what client work do you have to do? What admin stuff needs to get done? What types of stuff need to be handled? And they're like, nothing. It's like more marketing then. So your job, and this is something I missed. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. Like I was just like, oh, we just kind of like wait now. We just wait for people to get back to us, or maybe we update our website or we update this thing. Don't wait. You want to make sure that you continue writing. You want to make sure you continue marketing. that you're creating your list, right? You're creating your list, you're cutting your clients down by revenue, you're sending those LOIs, you're looking for press releases, or you're looking for stuff for to add more clients to your list. That's your whole job. So if you don't have enough working clients, your whole job is marketing. So that's how I kind of did it in the beginning, was like I would do my marketing, I would do some client work, I would have some, or I would do my marketing, check my email, clean it out, do some client work, have some lunch, clean out my email again, or follow up on stuff, do some client work. And then at the end of the day, I would do admin stuff because like I didn't need brain space. As my business has evolved, so this is going to give you kind of how it's different now. So the number one thing that's different now is I do my marketing quarterly. So instead of doing my marketing every single day for an hour, I have enough stuff going on, or I've planted enough seeds, or I have enough warm leads that I do that quarterly. So I send out, I don't know, like maybe, I don't know, I guess it's probably between 50 and 100 LOIs per quarter as a clump. But if I come across companies throughout the year, I will send LOIs. So I still send a lot of LOIs. I don't send 400. I definitely send way more than that throughout the year. But I feel like for me, quarterly has worked really well for keeping up with inbound leads, with projects, with following up. And that was a transition. So one of the transitions was I would do my marketing 1 hour a day. Then it turned to weekly. Then it turned to monthly. Then it turned to quarterly. And that took years. Hey, Karina. So that took years to happen. It wasn't just like, I was like, now everything's great. Like I can stop marketing. You want to make sure that you're planting a lot of seeds, because you never know when those LOIs will work out. You never know how things are going to shake out in terms of your workload, in terms of your schedule. So when you're starting out, you want to send a lot of LOIs. I've been doing this for 11 years. So like I have a lot of LOIs, like thousands of LOIs that have been sent. So I do it quarterly because now I'm still sending some fresh ones out, but I know that other ones will work out because I've planted seeds before. So you want to make sure when you're moving into this transition that you understand it's going to take time. So you start with daily marketing. When you have enough work, you can turn to weekly. When you're too busy for weekly, change to monthly. And then if you're like, hey, I have a bunch of work, I'm booked, 3 months out or 6 months out, maybe. Usually it's 3 months. You're like booked 3 months out, then you can change to quarterly. So I feel like that kind of helps a bunch. The other thing too is that, like I said, when I do my work now, I'm managing a ton of different things in my business. So it's not just running my 6-figure freelance writing business, which is just, I do freelance writing / copywriting projects. I also do content strategy, brand messaging, and positioning projects. So not only am I running that, where I need to keep up with the marketing, I need to do my client work, I need to make sure I'm following up or doing whatever I need to get done. I'm also helping my students. So right now I'm in the middle of my fall Wealth Lab class. So we have twice weekly live Q&As. We have working Wednesdays. I'm in there every single day answering questions. So I need to be part of my community. I need to help my students. I need to be there for them, answering DMs and questions and all that stuff. I'm also running Runway. So Runway is my 5-day fast track class. So I have students that join that and I help them. Then there's also coaching. So I do one-on-one coaching that I'm handling. And then there's all these other like miscellaneous business things I end up doing. So managing all of that stuff when I'm doing my client work for my 6-figure business, that stuff is just slotted in when I have time to do it. So instead of it having to be early in the morning like it used to be, now I just do it when it needs to get done. So usually, and this is how my schedule normally goes, is the night before. So the night before I check my schedule. What's going on, right? Do I have a live Q&A? Do I have a working Wednesday, which is like a co-working session? Do I have a live stream? Do I have an interview I need to do for a story? Do I need to talk to a client? So I will make sure that I am checking that schedule the night before. I know what's coming up the next day, and usually that really helps me get settled for how I can expect my day to go. Then when I get up, I clean out my inbox. I know that all the experts say don't look at your email when you get up, but for me, it really helps me cut down on my anxiety. Like if I clean out like every day, okay, this is something that happens when you start growing as a freelance writer, is you will get more than 100 emails when you wake up. I get more than 100 emails a day, but I wake up to 100 emails every single morning. So every single morning, whether that's press releases or follow-ups or client stuff or student stuff or I don't know, newsletters, like I have 100 emails every day when I wake up, even if I clean out my inbox at nighttime. So that means when I wake up, I need to make sure I clean out my inbox so that when I have time to get to my emails, I know that these 30 are the ones I need to answer. The other 70 are like, I don't need to worry about it. And whatever comes in the rest of the day, I'll deal with it at nighttime. So the first thing I do is I look at my schedule the night before. I am intentionally preparing for the next day. The next day I will wake up and do some stuff. Sometimes I'll walk this one. Sometimes the first thing I'll do is walk this one. Sometimes, I'll clean out my inbox, but I'll clean out my inbox. Then I need to figure out where can I slot in my work? Am I doing something, right? Is there something where I need to be live on video? Is there something where I need to answer student questions? So my second thing is usually that I pop into the community. So I pop into Wealth Lab community if that's open right now, or I pop into the Breakthrough community and answer some questions. Then I get to my actual work. So I start organizing things. I get everything prepped. I might do a little bit of it. Like a lot of times what I end up doing in the morning is that I'm organizing my actual client work. Then I have lunch. And then at the back end of the day, I'm actually typing, right? I'm actually writing things or doing research or pulling stuff together. So when we're kind of, I see things coming in the chat. So yeah, when I'm kind of getting that client work done, I typically do it in the afternoon, but I wouldn't say it's always like that. It really depends on when my appointments are. Because sometimes, I can have like 10 appointments a week between coaching calls, live Q&As, working Wednesdays, live streams, interviews for articles. Sometimes it could be 20, which is kind of rare, but 10 is pretty regular. Like I can have 10 different appointments throughout the week, and they're usually scattered throughout the week. Like they're not just blocked for certain days and times. So for me, just having the flexibility to do my client work when I see a big block of time, that kind of helps me just be like, okay, I'm going to do my client work from 2 to 5 or whatever that is. Then same thing, I'm doing admin work at the end of the day. I'm checking in on community questions. I'm checking in on my inbox. I'm cleaning things out and organizing stuff. And there are different things that I will do on different days. So like I said, I usually do my marketing quarterly. So I still, and I want to be clear about this, just because I'm doing my marketing quarterly does not mean I'm not doing other parts of the process. So when I say doing marketing quarterly, I mean there's like one day where I send like 50 LOIs each quarter. There might be 2 days, so I send 100. But when I do my marketing and I send those LOIs, the rest of the time, I'm still gathering press releases, gathering business information, adding people to my spreadsheet, looking for companies to send LOIs to, so that when that marketing time comes, I just boom, 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 and I can send like 25 LOIs in an hour because I've spent all this other time just adding people in. And this is something that we go over in both the Wealth Lab and Runway, is like how you can have a bunch of stuff coming into your inbox so you know who to add to your list. And instead of always having to find a list, you have a lot of information coming in. So those things are really important. Where I want to be clear about the quarterly part is like me physically sending the LOIs out. That's like the couple of days where I send them out. But the rest of the time, since I get a bunch of stuff in my inbox and I'm constantly wearing my new pair of glasses to kind of figure out who my ideal clients are, then I can constantly add people to my list and figure out who's that person to contact on LinkedIn, put them on my spreadsheet, what's kind of going on at their company, what content are they doing, add that to the spreadsheet. And then that way I can just boom, 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 send them out. So for me, what I think happens when you age, I guess, and I'm not saying age like physical age, I'm saying age in terms of experience, like when you become like a fine aged cheese as a freelance writer, what ends up happening is you are understanding when you do your best work, you're understanding how you do your best work, you're understanding that you don't need as much brain space or energy to get it done. So instead of me, when I started my freelance business, having to do my work early in the day, because I was like, I can't pay attention after X time. Like I'm not in the good writing space. I need to do it in the morning before basically 1 p.m. Now I can do it whenever. That was literally having to do it over and over and over again. So there were times when I first started out, I knew I had to get it done during a clump of hours before 1 p.m. Then there were times when I was like, oh crap, I have a deadline. I need to get that done. And I had to do it, at 5 to 8 p.m. or whatever that was. So challenging myself to kind of switch up my schedule or giving myself kind of a challenging deadline schedule pushed me to now be able to do my client work pretty much whenever. Like as long as it's not after 8 p.m. where I'm like really tired, I can do client work pretty much any part of the day. Like even if there's times when I've had a deadline and I need to get up at 5 a.m. to like finish it, I can still get it done. And that's also realizing that I don't need as much ramp up as I used to, right? So when I first started out, I needed a lot of like, I don't know, it's not accessories, but I needed a lot of like ramp up time and it took me longer to do my work. And now it still takes me a long time to do my work. Like I'm definitely probably the slowest, I'm probably the slowest one out of all my friends getting my work done. But the deal is that the lift on my brain is a lot lighter. Like it doesn't take all my brain space and then I'm totally wiped out. So I think that kind of gives you a good set of differences where I am managing a bunch of things in my 6-figure business. So like my 6-figure freelance writing business plus my Wealth Lab students, which are running right now, they run in the fall. So they run in September. They start in September for their course or April. And then Runway is available all the time. So right now I have my Wealth Lab students. I have coaching students, right? One-on-one coaching students and other random business things that I do. So all of these things are manageable because each thing doesn't take as much brain space as it used to. So it doesn't take as many lifts basically for my brain to kind of do it. That's kind of the evolution of getting to copywriting or getting to a next level content writing is you are doing these things over and over and over again. So instead of it taking you 20 hours, now it takes 5 hours like a couple years later, right? These are things that it is reps. Like honestly, that's the best thing I can say is when you're looking at a schedule, when you're trying to figure out like what do you actually do, your schedule is like getting those reps in, making things quicker, understanding how to move forward, right? Karina says, do you use things like time blocking and theme days? No, because that doesn't work for me. So I know that works for a lot of people where they're like Mondays are for this, Tuesdays are for this, Wednesdays are for this. And that has never worked for me. I tried to do that like a few years into freelance writing and that's just not how I work best. I work best by kind of dipping into little pies every day. So I'm kind of a person who's like, I do a bit every day and that makes me create better content that helps me pay attention to one part of the process instead of it being like, oh, I'm not going to do any work until Thursday and Friday. Like that doesn't make sense to my brain. And when I did try it, it was just really hard for me to just do one task all day like that. I just don't like it. It's not my brain. I like to jump to things. I'm like, I have an ongoing to-do list, right? So like, I'm like, okay, email's done. Community is done. DMs are answered. Emails are answered. Now I do my client work. Okay. Check those emails, get that done. Do your client work. Okay. Do any admin or follow-up or whatever. So for me, it's like this checklist that I go through, that built better habits for me. So some people use time blocking and theme days. And I think that is for me too rigid. So some people are, they're like every day I do client work from 2 to 5 p.m. or 1 to 5 p.m., whatever. The only thing that I've time blocked was marketing, like because it had to get done. Like if I didn't do marketing every single day when I started, that's just not going to work. You got to plant those seeds. So the only thing I've really time blocked was the marketing. Everything else is like, the way my brain works is I'm building backwards from deadlines. So I know that I have a deadline in 2 weeks and I know I need to get started on research or interviews or whatever by X date. So then I build that into kind of sprinkling things around. And that makes more sense to how I like to work. And I usually encourage my students or I encourage people to do what makes sense to you. I would try a bunch of different things. So I tried a lot of different stuff to get to where I am now. So I tried to do time blocking. I tried to do theme days. I tried to do like, okay, this day is dedicated, only Mondays and Fridays are for this, or appointments for interviews are only these days. I will time block coaching calls. So my coaching calls are only on Mondays and Fridays. That really helps with keeping Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays basically for interviews I need to do for magazine articles. So that kind of helps me manage it out. Hi, Bean. But I feel like from the way that I like to work, I just like to have my finger in a bunch of pies, and also, I can't ignore my inbox for a day. I can't ignore my students for a day. Like they have questions, they need help. I gotta help them get to the next step. That's why we have, the community for the Wealth Lab or email, for Runway. And I feel like that needs to be done. So there's different things that I have to deal with, right? Flower Power says that makes me feel so much better. I have to check my email to know what's important and what can be ignored. Yeah. So, one of the things that really helps that I want to put in here is if you're having trouble with email, which has been a long time thing that I've noticed with myself and other writers, get Boomerang. Boomerang, you can schedule your inbox to put emails in at certain times of day. So, when I was kind of teaching myself to stop getting so interested in email, I told Boomerang, hey, only deliver emails to my inbox at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. So I could still check my inbox, right? I would check my inbox, but there's no new emails because Boomerang's holding them until a specific time. That really kind of cut the habit for me, was having Boomerang say, like, they basically hold it back. They just don't deliver it to your inbox. So they'll deliver a bunch at 9 a.m. Whatever has corralled, whatever they've corralled from between 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. will be delivered at 1 p.m. Then whatever they've corralled between 1 and 5 will be delivered at 5. That will separate you from having to check your inbox all the time. And the other important thing to remember is you need to set boundaries. You are not an instant answer machine. You are not someone who's getting on there. It can take me 48 to 72 hours to answer an email because there's just a lot. There's just a lot of them. And it's just like we're kind of on, I'm on kind of like a backlog. So like by the time I get to your email, like it's the newest one, then it's like 48 hours to 72 hours. Uh, that's how it is for everybody pretty much. I try to do better than that. So sometimes I will get answers out in 24 hours or just a few hours. It just depends on my schedule. But we also want to make sure that we're not just like immediately answering, because what ends up happening is you train your clients, and this is something that affects your day to day, right? So your day to day, if you train your clients that you answer emails within 2 hours, and if you get busy and you can't answer an email in 2 hours and it takes you 24 hours, your clients panic. This is what I did, is you create this understanding, basically this habit with your clients, that you're like, oh, Mandy always answers in 2 to 3 hours. Mandy hasn't answered in 24 hours. Like something's going wrong. We need to send more emails, right? So your initial thing too with stopping the inbox is to train your clients like, hey, I will answer you in 24 to 48 hours. And that's kind of the boundary that we set to make sure that we have actual time to do our work. Okay. Let's talk about, Marie says she did theme days, but found out my schedule blew up when I was trying to arm wrestle my way through the week. Yeah, I had the same thing. Like when I was doing theme days, that just like, it didn't work for my brain. My brain was like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, definitely consider that. I'm looking through comments. I actually only have two. Is someone have kids? Is that the littles? So like right now we only have two dogs because Bo passed away. So we have this salty sea dragon right here. So this salty sea dragon's here. And then we have our new foster puppy that we just got, that is running our salty sea dragon quite ragged. So she like really wants some alone time. Okay. Yeah, same thing. Never answer a client email or phone call off hours. You will totally regret it. I've done it a bunch, right? So like I'll have clients that have texted me or have called me or emailed me in like the middle of the night, right? And if you start participating in that and breaking that boundary, they expect that you will continue to do that. And that's just no bueno. It's not going to work. So let's talk about number two. Number two here, when we're going through our day, right? And if you feel like this has been helpful so far of me explaining my schedule of how I kind of go through my day when I was beginning to now and how I handle all my stuff, make sure to hit that like button, thumbs up. Okay, let's talk about when I'm doing my must-do tasks. So there's different must-do tasks when we're moving through our schedule. So if you're someone I kind of feel like if you're starting out or if you're somewhere between 1 to 3 years as a freelancer, you need to be doing those essential tasks. Those essential tasks are marketing. You got to get the marketing done. I don't care if it's 50 to 75 LOIs a month and you're just like doing that whenever you have space in your schedule, or you're doing an effort goal. of 1 hour a day of marketing. And that 1 hour a day of marketing can be it can be that you're adding people to your list, that you're checking revenues, that you're finding emails, that you're finding the right contact information, that you are looking people up on LinkedIn, connecting to people on LinkedIn, finding different articles or lists or press releases or stories that you can find different clients in, all that good stuff. But it has to be done every day. Whether you're a copywriter, content writer, content strategist, brand messaging strategist, messaging and positioning strategist. Well, I guess not. It's just, yeah. So as whatever you're doing, you have to find those clients and you have to train yourself how to do it. So when you're starting out, you got to do it because you have to train yourself to do it quicker and quicker over time. So if we can templatize stuff, if we can have a system, like a blueprint to get everything done, if we can put all of our stuff together in an organized way and repeat that process all the time, every single day, that's how you get to quarterly marketing where you can send like 100 LOIs in 2 days. Like it's a lot quicker. So our goal is that we need to do those essentials. You got to get the marketing done. Even now, like I said, I might send the LOIs every quarter, but I'm still keeping my eyes open pretty much every day or at least every week for new clients, releases, people getting funding, changes in the landscape, new marketing people at companies, all that good stuff. So I'm paying attention to that regularly. I'm just only sending those LOIs on, a certain end of day of the quarter, right? So when we're kind of doing that, that's our marketing. The other thing is that I think the most important thing when you're figuring yourself out is when do you do your best work? Some people get up and do work from 4 to 12, like this 4 a.m. to noon. So I've known people who are like, I do my best 8 hours from 4 a.m. to noon. Cool, whatever. As long as you have your best hours, I think that's the way to kind of train yourself into how to do the work, how to put the right phrases in the right places, how to have the clearest mind. Then when you've got that down, let's say a couple years, right? You've got that down. It doesn't take very much effort. When I say effort, I'm saying like when you start out, it's like a gargantuan effort. And then it's still an effort. It's just not like you're trying to, lift a giant troll with like your pinky toe, right? Like it's not like that. So we're getting through this process where it's not as time consuming, it's not as energy consuming. We've ridden that bicycle, right? We've ridden the bicycle enough to know, like, I know when I get to this part, it's a little rocky, and I know that this editing piece needs to get done. Like you have a process and a system, and you know how to do your work. So then you need to make sure after we figure out which part of the day, I don't care if that's morning, noon, afternoon, middle of the night. Some people do their best work from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Like I've stayed up till 3 a.m. doing work before. That's just like, sometimes my schedule gets packed and sometimes I have to stay up really late. So I've stayed up till 3 a.m. doing work. And that means that I either sleep later the next day or I have an appointment and I have to get up. So it just depends. But we got to figure out when our best time is and capitalize on that for a while. So we've ridden that bicycle enough times to know that now we don't have to do our work, right? Like from 1 to 5 p.m. We could do it from 9 to 12 and get it done, even if it's not like our ideal time. Because as you do more work, your ideal time kind of fades away. Like for me, it kind of faded away because it was like, I've ridden that thing so many times, right? You've ridden that bicycle over and over and over again that you're like, yeah, I can ride this bicycle at 9 a.m. or I can ride this bicycle at 2 a.m. Like not 2 a.m. usually, but 9 a.m. or like I can ride it at 2 p.m. And those kind of things help move along. So we first start with just understanding when do I do my best work and capitalizing on that. Then you can shift your schedule to like, when can I put my client work in between the marketing, the emails, following up, managing my invoices, admin, any follow-ups I need to do, any extra stuff I like to get done. Then you can kind of organize it around that. The other thing too, I think is a must do is a daily thing that's essential for copywriters and content writers. I think what you want to do is have some decompression time. Like for me, when I get into a day where I am doing too many things, like I get into a day where it's just like task after task after task, there's no decompression time. I've talked about this before. So like after I have a live, like I get on and I do a live Q&A, or I do Working Wednesday, or I end up doing a live stream or some kind of interview or something like that, I give myself like a 30-minute decompression time. So either I have lunch during that time or I just kind of loaf for like 30 minutes. Like I'll go and snuggle this salty sea dragon. So I'll go down there and I'll snuggle her for a while, or I'll talk to Tommy for a little bit, or I'll go do something else, but I'll give myself a good 30 minutes to kind of decompress because it can be a lot. And, task switching, when you're switching tasks very often, it can be very heavy on your brain. Like it can take a lot of energy and time on your brain. And we want to make sure we kind of give our brain like a little bit of a break during the day. Okay. Karina says, what I do to avoid clients panicking when I can't answer an email right away is that I put them in a dedicated Slack channel where you can answer casually within hours. So I have like a mixed feeling about the Slack channel. So the Slack channel is like, I think that works when you're early on in your career. So for me, when I have a Slack, like when I had Slack for clients, that would be okay for the early part of my career. But when you get later on in your career where you're juggling multiple clients or you're juggling different projects or you're doing a lot of stuff, Slack then becomes a hindrance because now you're moving from email to Slack to this other thing to this other thing. Because sometimes your clients don't use Slack, they use some other thing, you have other meetings, and Slack just adds on another layer. So for me, it became a pain in the butt because it was like, I'm spending a lot of time in my inbox. Just email me because I'm already there. I don't want to go to another portal. I don't want to go log in. I don't want to, so you have to be careful with Slack because it can start to feel like another layer where you're just like, oh God, I got to go check this thing. And I still answer casually all the time in emails. So like, I feel like the hours part is still too fast. Like I think if you're getting a new client, 24 to 48 hours to answer them is better. You have other things to do with your time. If you have extra time, do your marketing. But it's not, I feel like the Slack part can become very full-time jobby. Like they think that you're just like available all the time and they treat you more like an employee. And I feel like Slack is so ubiquitous with full-time now that they just treat it like that. They're like, hey, you haven't answered. And it can just be too much access for us. And it can be this extra layer that can be a pain. Okay. Okay. So let's move on. Let me think of, I have my notes, but any other essentials? What's a must-do daily essential? What do you think, Charles? What's a must-do daily essential? Is there anything we forgot? I mean, I have notes, but I want to make sure we cover stuff. How you doing? You feeling tired? Yeah. You feeling sleepy? You got double the blankets. You got mud all over the pet bed. You're a muddy, dirty bean. Yeah. Okay. I remembered the last one. So the last one is this. When we are when we are doing our stuff, this is something I do every day is I check deadlines. So I have a to-do list in my Dubsado and I check my Apple Calendar. So the thing that we do every day as a copywriter, content marketing writer, content strategist, brand messaging strategist, or someone who works in messaging and positioning, check your deadlines. So in Dubsado, every day, that's the first tab that I pull up in Chrome is Dubsado. It tells me, here's your deadline. So every single day I have a thing in Dubsado, right, in my to-do list that says, don't forget you have an article due next week, or don't forget this, right? It's a big list of things. I'm also checking my calendar. So I pull up my Apple Calendar and I'm like, what's going on this week, right? I'll still check that. What am I doing? Am I having 4 more calls this week? Do I have interviews I need to schedule? Do I need to get back to that PR rep? Do I need to get images? Do I need to follow up? Like I'm doing this constantly. So in addition to my daily check of the night before, so I say like, okay, what's going on for Friday, right? Thursday night, I'm looking at my calendar, what's going on for Friday? I still will pull up my to-do list every single day with Dubsado of like what deadlines are coming up. And I will also make sure to pull up all of my calendar stuff in Apple Calendar, whether I'm looking at a weekly view or a monthly view, so I can see kind of what's going on. Checking in on your deadlines really puts the fire under your butt. Like no joke, whenever I'm like, oh, I have plenty of time. Like when I check on my deadlines every day, I'm like, oh, I don't have time. Like I need to get my shit together. So checking on your deadlines, checking in on your calendar and your to-do list, and understanding when you need to get started. What, like, okay, if I have an article due in 2 weeks, I need to start sending interview requests now because I need to get people on a call now because the piece is due in 2 weeks and it takes people a while to schedule, right? Or I'm doing a case study and I need to kind of get on a kickoff call with my client. I need to talk to the person who's going to be in the case study. I actually need to schedule the interview. I need to get everything organized. I actually need to write the case study. I need to edit it, all that stuff. I might need to design it. So for me, working backwards and really reviewing my deadlines daily helps a ton. Let's talk about 3. If you feel like this has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to learn more about building a successful copywriting or content marketing or content writing business, subscribe. What do you think, Woo Bean? All right, let's talk about 3. This is 2. Yeah, so this is a good idea too, is when you're putting your proposal and contract together, you can put that in there. Hey, I don't answer, you can even put your hours in there. You can say like my schedule every day is from 9 to 4. That's when I'll be answering messages. And I typically, response time for emails is 24 to 48 hours. Marie says 72, which is totally fine. Like I said, once you start getting more client work and you have more things going on, you start realizing how many things are piling up. And by the time you get to something new, it could be 72 hours later. So you can put them in your proposal contract. You can even set those expectations on the initial client meeting, and that helps you manage your day-to-day. All right, let's talk about 3. So 3 here, when we're going through all of our copywriting day-to-day, our content writing day-to-day, right? We're going through all the things. My schedule has shifted, or your schedule, my schedule has shifted as my business has grown, but it's also shifted in what I'm doing. So the cool thing that I think about as we grow and change our day to day is that year to year, your schedule changes and it opens things up. So what ends up happening is your schedule starts off as very busy, like it's very buzzy. It's like an anthill. There's always something. Oh my God, I gotta do this stuff. I gotta do my marketing. I gotta do my client work. It's very anthillish. But then you kind of become the queen of your anthill, right? So the other worker bees are kind of going along. What that means is basically like, instead of feeling like every single day you're a worker ant, just like, oh my God, I got to do all this stuff, you can kind of see your business from like an overview. So yes, you work in your business, but you work on your business, right? You are doing things that feel more like an overview instead of feeling like, oh my God, I got to do this and then this and then this. So I feel like embracing that kind of overview idea really helped me get out of feeling so anxious every day or feeling like I needed to do stuff all the time. Because I know that this is something I often talk about with my Wealth Lab students and my Runway students, is this pressure to feel like you have stuff to do all the time. And it's true. There is an aspect of owning a freelance writing business that you have stuff to do all the time, forever. I have stuff to do all the time. That's part of running our businesses. There is always a task that you can find or create that needs to be done, right? That's always the case. But the deal is that you have to start separating yourself from that. You have to understand that you have to take care of, like, rest is just as good and just as important as productivity. So as your schedule changes, instead of feeling like you're in the dirt every day, you're like, okay, here's our overview. We have 3 deadlines. They're coming up over the next 4 weeks. We have these 3 clients. We have marketing going on. You see it more as an overview instead of feeling like everything is all over the place. So that's one thing. The other thing that shifts as your business grows is you learn more about your writing. You learn more about where you want to take your writing, who your next clients are. You're analyzing your business regularly, whether that's 6 months or a year. Excuse me. You're analyzing your business to figure out what you want to change, what your ideal schedule is. And for me, the cool thing is that that's why I get to do all this stuff. That's why I get to run my regular freelance writing, content strategy, brand messaging, copywriting, whatever business. And I get to run the Wealth Lab and Runway and one-on-one coaching and my templates and all the other cool little things that I've been able to do in my business, is because that piece is just part of it. My running one part of my business is a contained beast now. Instead of it taking all of my time, right? Now it just takes a portion of my time. So that means I get to do whatever I want with this other portion. So that shift over time in your day-to-day gives you more space. That means you can exercise more, you can play with your pets, you have more time for kids. You have space to do whatever you want, whether that's rest time, vacation time, whether that is you taking on multiple different projects like I have. That is a shift that happens over time in from your day to day. That's something that comes from your day to day, where like, yes, you do client work, but you can also manage a community. You can also have live Q&As. You can also help your students. You can have coaching calls. You can have interviews for magazines. You can have a live stream or a podcast or a whatever, and you can do all that in the same week. And I think, remember we talked about like my favorite diagram, right? So like my favorite, this guy, that's like this, right? This guy, right? My favorite diagram. So as time, when you start out, right? When you start out, the time takes forever. It's a lot of time and effort. But as you kind of go along, the effort kind of stays consistent, but you have, I need my arrow. Oops. Like, so you have more space here, right? So that's the transition is in the beginning, right? You're doing a lot of this. Everything takes all of your time and effort. It's really, it feels like a lot, and you're really digging in the anthill, right? You're one of the worker ants. Then this transition happens over time where you're like, I've ridden that bicycle. I know how to interact with my clients. I have systems and processes in place. I automate as much as possible. I know how to do all these projects, so I'm not like ramping myself up with stress or anxiety as I'm getting started, right? You're just like moving along, and then you get to this place where you're like, yes, it takes effort. It takes a sustained effort, whatever that is, but I have all this time left, right? So that time can be whatever you like. This is typically like, it could be a year where you kind of get here, or it could be 2 to 5 years. It really depends on your personality. It depends on how things are going. I would say it's most common that this is somewhere between 1 and 3 years. So when you get started, the first year is a lot of this, is like understanding what you're doing, figuring things out, putting the processes and systems in place, getting clients, finally making money. And then you kind of start, hold on. Then you kind of start getting into like the second year is like here. And then like the third year, you're kind of turning the corner. But like I said, it's really personality driven, and it's also driven by how your business is going. So you could do this in a year. It just depends. So I feel like this diagram makes a lot of sense when we're going through the transition of day to day. Your day to day becomes worker bee, then you become queen bee, or well, yeah, worker bee or worker ant. Then you become queen bee or queen ant. And then you're kind of managing kind of this overview of stuff, and it's not taking you a ton of effort. There will be times where you'll see like little spikes where you start new projects or new ventures. So for example, right now I started a YouTube class because I wanted to get better at YouTube, and I like do not understand how YouTube works. Like I get it on a basic level, but I really want a deeper understanding of YouTube. So I'm taking a YouTube class. So right now my diagram is like all messed up because, right, I have my fall class of my Wealth Lab students that I need to be there for every single day. I need to make sure I'm there for live Q&As, that I'm there for Working Wednesday. I need to be there for my breakthrough students, right, which is my post-course community, which is after the Wealth Lab. They can join Breakthrough. It's our 24/7 community. And that is something where we have master classes, live Q&As, book club, Working Wednesday. We have a lot of different questions that come in. We do a lot of active stuff in there. So there's a lot of activities. And then there's Runway, right? So I run a live class for Runway, and there's Runway Lifetime. So I have to be there for all my students, and I need to make sure that my clients are a priority, that my client work is getting done, that the quality is not suffering at all, that I can handle everything at once. So when I'm kind of doing these things, I make sure that I'm scaling different things back. So like if I take a class, like the YouTube class, right now I'm trying to scale my freelance work back a bit because I need to spend more time doing the ramp up stuff of the YouTube class. So there's an initial period where you need to ramp up stuff in a course. You need to kind of put things in place, and then we kind of like run the train, right? We get the train and we're like, oh, a lug nut fell off or whatever, put that back on. And so it's kind of this process. I think that when we're starting things and we're moving things around in our schedule, but I want you to understand that over the years, your day-to-day will shift. I feel like that kind of comes from just working on different projects, working on bigger projects, longer projects, working for different types of clients, creating more schedule space because it's, you know, the first 20 blog posts you write, it's a lot. But then after you've written 200 blog posts, you're like, this is no big deal, right? Karina says, yeah, Marie says breaks and vacations. Absolutely. That's what we want to get. That's why I love this diagram. This diagram, right, minus the little squidgies that I just drew. So we'll just erase those. That's why this is dry erase. Boop, 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 right? So this diagram, that's why this is like what I teach in the Wealth Lab and Runway, is how we actually create that extra space to do other stuff. So we're not feeling like we always have to be in our business. So yeah, vacations, breaks, all that cool stuff. Karina says, have you pulled out the whiteboard in a client call? I mean, I definitely have for coaching calls, right? So I know the whiteboard has made many, many appearances on coaching calls or with Wealth Lab students or Runway students. I think I might have used the whiteboard one time. I think I might have used it one time to explain a concept on a client call, but usually, when I'm explaining something on a call, it's more like I'm either doing an initial client call where we're trying to figure out what's going on with the project or what's kind of popping up, or what I end up doing is I have a call that's like I'm presenting slides, right? I'm presenting a content strategy deck, or I'm presenting some kind of thing. So then I don't need the whiteboard because I have slides. So like I usually do only like a couple types of client calls. So I think I've done it one time to explain a concept, but I think that's been it. I think it was one time. Annie says, are you sure there aren't at least 4 more of you somewhere? I don't know how you do it all. I don't do it all. Like, that's the thing, is it seems like I do it all, but like I said, I've been doing this for 11 years. So I feel like I know how much time something takes me. And yes, I do work a bunch of hours. Like sometimes I work 30 hours and sometimes I'll work like 80. It just depends on the time. So I definitely work more hours when the Wealth Lab is running. So usually when the Wealth Lab is going on, I'm working a lot more hours because the Wealth Lab is quite, we have 10 weeks of stuff. Runway's the same. When I do Runway Live, that period where we're doing it, that is a lot more energy and effort. When I'm doing Runway, when people are taking Runway right now, I'm answering questions via email. But yeah, like I think it's just more of understanding that things condense over time, right? So think about it this way. I think this is a good way to kind of put it together in a way that makes sense. If your grandma teaches you a recipe, let's say your grandma teaches you a recipe and you're 3 or 4 years old. You're not going to remember that recipe, but you're kind of like getting in the ball game. By the time you're like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you can probably do that recipe in your sleep. You've made that recipe with your grandma so many times that it's like automatic, right? Think of your business as like after you get to a certain point, you're not measuring how much oregano goes in the meatballs. You don't need to guess how many eggs. You just like do it as a robot, right? You're just like, okay, get the eggs out, crack 2 eggs, whatever. You're not even thinking about I need 2 eggs. You just do it. So think about this transition as like first your grandma is teaching you the recipe. It's like the secret family recipe, where she might measure things just to tell you what's in it, right? But then as time goes on, no one's measuring anything. You know what it looks like, right? So like when I make meatballs, right? Like you guys know I'm Italian. When I make meatballs, the way my Nana did and my Papa did, I just make them. Like I don't think about it. I don't know. Like I know what it looks like, right? So like when I put things in a bowl, I know exactly like, okay, I need this much seasoning or this much salt or this much water or this many eggs. Like I don't even think about it. I just put it together. So you should think about it kind of like that. It becomes this kind of automatic thing that it's not automatic in terms of like you go on autopilot. It's more like you need 3 hours to do research. You need 4 hours to write it. You need at least 1 hour to edit. And you know that if you have a deadline 2 weeks away, you need to immediately get on interviews with your sources. Or if you get a case study or a white paper, you have this certain timeline. Like it becomes this thing where you know what needs to be done when. The actual effort of writing, that's going to be hard. There's still going to be times where you work on a project where you're like, this is really effing hard. And even if I'm in my regular day-to-day schedule, like it takes longer than I thought. So there will be times, hi Goob, there will be times where the writing part is hard because that's why they pay us the big bucks, right? Because not everybody can write well, right? Here you go. So um, we're getting paid good money to have a skill that's hard to do. So the writing piece will get easier, but there will always be challenges because the writing part needs to be done with quality. You need to meet the client's standards or what they're expecting. You need to do good work. And that takes a certain amount of brain space, but it's way different, right? And I always kind of talk about this where the example I give is like, right, the grandma making the recipe, but also when I started, my first article took me a month. It took me 1 month to do an article, to get the sources, to write it, to edit it. It took me the whole time. The first time I did a reported article, it took me a month, and then I can do like 20. I did whatever it was, 21 in a month. Right? That's the difference. I would never do 21 in a month again. That's like not. I don't like it. But I'm telling you, that's kind of the difference. Is like if you can ride the pony enough times, you're like, oh, I know this horse. I know it's going to turn left here, or it's going to be spicy about this weird cactus, or there's a lot of things that kind of pop up where you start, there's things that you expect, there's things you understand, and then there's also like things that you don't need to think about as much. They become more automatic. Yeah, this too. I've done this too, right? Restarting your business schedule, kind of figure out how things go, work things in between classes, client work, interviews. So yeah, kind of figuring out your schedule over time, it will evolve for sure. Flower Power says, love the meatball analogy. Yeah, I feel like the meatball analogy kind of makes sense. Is like, think of a recipe, right? Think of a recipe or something someone taught you. I just use food because like that's something obviously as a food writer I know. But like think about it as like someone taught you how to do something, right? Every time you get on a bike, someone doesn't need to teach you how to ride a bike. You just like get on it and your body does that, right? Or you can think about it as the difference between, so like when you first start swimming, everything is awkward, right? And there's like breathing and it's underwater and there's kicking and there's arms and there's head movement and all this stuff. But then like it becomes this thing that's just you do it, right? Yes, you have a hard set. Yes, you have to do a lot of things sometimes where it's like holding your breath and it's really hard, but you know how to do it, right? So I feel like that's a good analogy too, is like sports. So for me, when you start swimming, right, there's so many moving parts, but then after a while, like, you know, you get in and you warm up, and yes, you have some hard sets, and yes, there's some things that are really difficult to do, but it's not something that is out of the realm of possibility, and it's not something that you do every single day where it's hard, right? Where you're trying to move your arms and your legs and your head and breathe all at the same time. And the meatballs are a good analogy too. Okay. What do you think, Charles? What would you like to say to the people now that we're on the pup date? We had the tiny raptor in here, and the tiny raptor, here you go. We're kind of running out of snacks up here. We've only got bits. We have more snacks downstairs, but I would have to go back down there and get them. Yeah. Snort's been such a good girl. She's been such a good sport. They play together, even though they're 10 years apart in age, they play together. But Charlotte is kind of the dog who she needs Charlotte time. We always call it Charlotte time. Like she is a type of dog who wants to be alone. Like she wants to go outside and she wants you to leave her alone for like 2 to 3 hours. And she'll just sleep out there and do Charlie stuff, like smell things or look at squirrels or chase squirrels or whatever. But Charlie's definitely a dog who needs some personal time for sure. Flower Power says, I love cooking too, so this helps me feel more confident that, yeah, eventually those harder things will take less time. It's not hopeless. Yeah, it's not even just the time, Flower Power. It's also the energy and effort and like the mind, the amount of space it takes in your mind. So it's not just, I think a lot of times it's really easy when we're talking about copywriting and content writing and freelancing to focus on time as a metric, but really it's not so much time. Yes, time is like after the equals sign, right? Like it's not actually part of the equation. It's like the trackable benefit, right? So like, yes, it takes less time, which is like after the equation, the equal sign trackable benefit. But the equation is like, it doesn't take as much brain space. It doesn't take as much effort. It doesn't feel so overwhelming. You've done this project 4, 5, 20 times. So it's not this overwhelming onboarding experience every time. So the actual doing of the functional part of the project, right? The actual piece where you're getting things done, it doesn't feel like you're lifting 500 pounds. It feels like you're lifting 5. So that part of the equation then shows a trackable metric of like, yes, it takes less time, But really, it's like you don't feel so tired at the end of the day. You don't feel so scattered. You feel like you can handle more things. You feel like you can add different projects in. So for me too, I think one of the good things to note is that it took me a long time to add extra stuff. I didn't just like wake up one day and be like, now I'm going to add all these things. I spent many years building a freelance writing business, running that. And then when that started taking extra time or less time, then I can add extra things, right? So once my freelance writing business is contained, like I know how that works, I know how to get clients, I know how to do all my stuff, whatever, it's running like a well-oiled machine, then I can add coaching, right? Then I can add coaching. After you add coaching and you're kind of like, okay, that doesn't take as much time, then I can finally build the course I want to build, right? And then you can build another one, right? There's a lot of things that you can build over time because as you move along, these things take less and less time. They run as a well-oiled machine. And the brain space, instead of taking 100%, now it takes 30 to 50%. So on the days where it takes 50%, you do less other stuff. On the days it takes 30%, now you have more space to do other things. But when you first start freelance writing or copywriting, right, it takes 100%. It takes all the stuff. But over time, that goes down, 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 down. Now you have space for other things. And it doesn't last forever. This is it. Just think about it in terms of other things you've done, whether that's recipes, whether that's sports, whether that is I don't know, whether that's like bugs, like the bug references I gave, whether that's riding a bike or whatever kind of, or driving a car, right? The first time you drive a car, I remember, this is kind of my last little story, but I remember when I first started driving alone, like the first time I drove a car alone, it freaked me out. Like I could not have music on. I was really cautious. I was really scared. And that was the first time I drove alone ever. Like you get your license, but now you like drive a car and you're like, whatever, you know, be careful about stuff. But like there's things that have become like driving a car is still more dangerous than getting on a plane, but you still do it, right? So there's still things that are hard or scary or nerve wracking about driving a car, but it's not nerve wracking or scary as like the first time you drove alone in a car, kind of like that. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. I hope this is something that you feel like you understand better about not only the day-to-day what you should do, but also the day-to-day how that changes as your business grows and how you'll actually have more space to do more things. Like as time goes on and you ride the bicycle of content marketing or copywriting, it doesn't take as much time to do things or it doesn't take as much effort or brain space. So then you can go do whatever you want with your extra space in your schedule. There's also things that I think you should try, right? Try different things in your schedule, try time blocking, try doing how I run my schedule. Make sure you have different reminders or to-do lists to keep you on track. Experiment with different ways that kind of help you deal with your day-to-day in a way that works for how you like to work. I feel like that's the beauty of freelancing is you get to design your schedule however you like in the way that works for you. If you feel like this has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to learn more about building a successful or high earning or amazing copywriting or freelance writing business, subscribe. We're here every Friday. We're here every Friday. Us two are here every Friday. We'll see how long we'll be fostering Guppy. So Guppy is available for adoption. I think we're going to take her to an adoption event this weekend. But yeah, so we'll we'll have her for a while. But we're here every Friday at noon Central Time, and we always do a new topic. Marie says also to have a down day for just in case everything goes crazy and I need extra time. When I hit that day and everything's working, I do something fun. I don't stuff my days. Yeah, that's the other thing about when we're teaching things, right? When we're teaching things, whether that's in the Wealth Lab, which Marie has taken Runway and the Wealth Lab, is that you actually have space. You can create, you can work 4 days a week instead of 5. You can take a Friday off or a Monday off and you can work less hours. It actually gives you time to do that. If you are interested in that, I should mention that. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in Runway, which is open right now, you can go to mandyellis.com/runway and you get these strategic kind of blueprint steps to run your business. Like this will actually help you understand how to build your business so you get that time back. It helps you get over income hurdles. So like I've seen a lot of students that are stuck at 30 to 50K. If that's you who wants to kind of move beyond that, Runway is a great way to move forward on that. I also give you all of my cool little templates and examples. And it's a really great way to get up to speed and also to grow your business quickly. So check it out, mandyellis.com/runway. And if you haven't gotten my free pricing guide yet, go to mandyellis.com/pricing guide. It's totally free. You'll also get my weekly tips and tricks emails. So in addition to doing this live stream every Friday, I have a weekly tips and tricks emails. Those only go out to subscribers. If you want my free pricing guide, but it includes all the projects, all the things, go to mandyellis.com/pricing guide. By Charlie and Guppy. Yes. I hope this is helpful. I hope everybody has a good weekend. I will keep you updated on how things go with Guppy and also my Salty Sea Dragon. I like your lip gloss. You look adorable. I hope everybody has a good weekend. I will see you next week. Bye.